Now at first, I really didn't want to do a don't sleep on True Assassin because of the sheer lack of screen time. Same thing can be said about King Hassan. But then something was brought to my attention. Let's skip the in-betweens and just do all of them. So that's what we're doing. We're ranking every single Hassan that we've seen so far. It's time to find out just what it means to carry the title Old Man of the Mountain. We have Shinji's version of Hassan that he gained by installing the class card. He comes with no parameters because of that fact. Just like Cursed Arm Hassan, his version is also stated to have an evil spirit in his arm. The difference being that his version was modified with the spiritual transplant. In his parallel world specifically, he was able to one-shot Sakura with his version of Zabania, Heartbeat Melody. As far as the fighting from the Hassan itself, his arm consists of several ropes that are tipped with daggers. These work even after being cut off and can serve as a distraction. He can forcibly detach his arm altogether and have it turn into a giant while the main body functions freely. This can be used as a means to sneak up on his opponent as he did with Shiro. Not really much to be said here, with him being a variation of Cursed Arm and so little to go by. I gotta keep him here until he can come up with some more feats. Next up, we dive into third Holy Grail Hassan. Now I did just go over this in my third Holy Grail War video. We'll run back through it again. We don't know who he was exactly, but we do know that he was an acrobatic midget that was capable of one-shotting his opponent. He features the ability to turn your brain into gunpowder and blow up your entire body from the waist up. Straight malicious. He has extreme speeds rivaling 80 kilometers an hour, as we saw with Bazette, and he has poisonous dirks that will completely immobilize the body part that comes in contact. Unfortunately, since that's the only information we have, I can't bring him any further than this. You can say that he survived a couple of days in the war based on hollow ataraxia, but we don't know if he was hiding out on those days or what. So that's not really something to go by either. But I do believe that he does have potential to go into the higher end of the spectrum if more info comes out. Next up, we have 100 Face Hassan. Due to the high amount of commitment that was taken on during the past, 100 Face can manifest 100 different personas of herself in one body. It's ridiculous. If you're asking me, her best assets would have to be her agility, her tracking, and her ability to stack on an opponent with sheer numbers. From Grand Order, we know that one of the personas was able to wrestle Beowulf and Kentoki at the same time and beat them both. As a matter of fact, in Fate Collide, we've seen over 50 Hassans can manifest and fight at one time, the maximum being 80. They are especially agile, being able to come up with the path that has the least resistance with little to no effort at all. One of their personas was able to sneak up on Tokiomi's crib through his bounded field, dodge all of his visionary traps, and disable his security systems with just a flick of a pebble. They can mask their own scent, as they did when they tried to avoid running into Saber. They were able to get the drop on Saber and Irisville without getting caught. The main persona, the main body, mentioned that she has a specialty for ambush and diversion. They can sense when they're being watched. They can trace back on their own tracks to deny any intruders. It's stated that they have very precise vision, allowing them to see Saber's battle from 500 meters away, right down to the facial expressions. They could sense Gilles de Rais even when he was hiding out in spirit form. They can transfer their eyesight to Kirei, allowing him to see through their eyes firsthand. Like a lot of servants, bullets will have no effect. Kirisugu mentioned that a head-on sniper round would do absolutely no damage. In Grand Order, they fought off several troops 1 hour straight and depleted 70% of their reserves. They have protection from wind amulets that again deflects wind and helps them when they're in a sandstorm. They were able to locate and destroy one of Kirisugu's familiars, and they can fight for a decent amount of time, but this does wear down on their overall mental energy. With that in mind, despite having a lot more more showcase than say Cursed Arm Hassan, 100 Face really didn't do too much with it as far as impactful kills go. No servants, no masters. For the most part, they just did extremely good scouting. I will give them the benefit of the doubt to say that they always kept Kirei ahead of the game, but at the same time, it was to their advantage that they had such a formidable master. Had they been summoned by somebody like Waver, they would have been good as screwed. Next up, we're going to be talking about the beloved Serenity. Going by the boards, her best qualities would have to be her speed and her luck to get out of impossible situations. She has a shape-shifting ability that allows for her to change her natural Hassan skin and blend in with the rest of society. This also goes as far as being able to change into an actual man if she wanted. Prior to his reanimation, Serenity used her noble phantasm to kill her master Tatsumi. On accident, by the way, she didn't even try. In fact, she used that same shape-shifting ability to consume the lives of several men to stay in the world. She single-handedly murked the entire Issei clan by spreading her poison throughout their base. She fought against Brynhildr, losing an entire arm and still fighting against King Arthur later on down the line. And to add on, all of her bodily fluids are poisonous. Her blood, her saliva, whatever. So when she got her arm cut off, by normal standards, Brynhildr would have been poisoned, but luckily she had a passive magic defense. Even when she's injured, it's best that you don't take her lightly. In FGO, she was able to take out a group of Rongomenia's knights with her poison alone. In the movie, just one of her dirks was enough to silence one of the Enforcer Knights for good. Keep in mind that these Enforcer Knights are not weak by any means. She had enough physical strength to pull Tristan through a glass floor. She had enough strength to use her wire strings and catapult a table at Tristan. We've seen Serenity and Cursed Arm Hassan nearly catch up to the cavalry, even though the cavalry are on horses. She was fast enough to trap Tristan's hands with her wire strings. She was quick enough to jump out of the way of Tristan's arrow, which, as we know, came out in a split second. Same thing can be said for Cursed Arm. And since she's the incarnation of poison itself, her noble phantasm allows her to eliminate a human just by kissing them. The kiss of death is in action. She has what you can say is much like battle continuation for the mind. She can't be slowed down by physical pain, and she can't be killed by poison. She got her face sliced by Tristan's arrow. She didn't care. She got stabbed in the foot, minor scratch, and although Tristan completely immobilized her arm, she was more than willing to continue the battle. No arm, no problem. I'll use my teeth. She pulled her dirk out of Tristan's cape and caught it with her mouth. This takes what that mouth do to a whole nother level. I gotta say that I'm super impressed. Even though she knew she was outclassed, even though she had to get help from Cursed Arm Hassan, she still did infinitely better when you consider the context. Tristan destroyed 95 personas and didn't have a scratch on him. Yet he's fighting against Serenity and Cursed Arm, and they're giving him way more trouble. Sometimes quality is just better than quantity. However, survivability will only get you so far. If you need help just to finish the job, then what good does it really do you? Moving on to Cursed Arm Hassan, you have a high level of camaraderie, a devout nature that can steer his response during his fighting, that really shows everybody what a Hassan truly is. His main qualities being his strength and his agility. As I've mentioned before, Hassan has great speed. His dagger skills giving him the ability to throw dirks at the speed of bullets. He was shown keeping up with Lancer's speed for a short amount of time, and he was able to tactfully lure him into Riodo Lake. His dirks come out at a speed that cannot be perceived. He threw multiple dirks from several directions at once. When it comes to this fight, you better be light on your feet. Hassan can one-shot his opponent with Zabania Delusional Heartbeat, destroying a copy of that same heart in the process. You must have a high magical energy in order to even prevent him from getting this started. Like Serenity, he can endure a decent amount of pain, though as we've seen in the past, he will not move forward with the losing battle. He managed to survive getting tossed around by Ryder despite her having her monstrous strength, him ending up with broken bones and high blood loss after the fact, just to turn around and fight against Emiya later. He can utilize his dirks to gauge his enemy's speed and their skill level. He is able to slither on the floors and even on the walls with spider-like tendencies. Due to him carrying the Hassan name, he has been blessed with the divine protection of the wind. This allows him to deflect wind attacks, letting him survive against Saber's wind release with no problem. You know, for a long time, just like everybody else, Cursed Arms suffered from his role in the story. You can't give him the feat of taking down Cuchulainn when he's out here jumping him with the shadow, but he was able to hang with Tristan for a good amount of time. A lot of servants couldn't do that, as we saw with the 100 Face. And even though it took a self-sacrifice for him to do it, he was tactful enough to bring Tristan down with the demon Shaitan by releasing him from his arm when he knew he was outmatched. It was to the point where Tristan had to express his disbelief that he could manage to pull this off despite being disemboweled with his organs hanging out. Now it's time to get into the juicy half. We have Strange Fake True Assassin. Now again, little is known about this Hassan, but what we do know is absolutely disgusting. We know that he has one of the highest presence concealment out of all the Hassans that we've seen, coming in at EX, even higher than King Hassan himself. This man's concealment is so high that even he doesn't know he exists. Upon his introduction, he was shown having the ability of possession, being able to take control of his master Faldeus and make him write a message to communicate. He can merge and become one with darkness itself. He was able to effortlessly infiltrate the mansion of the mafia boss Galvaroso, despite this location being covered with 35 layers of magical defense. It has spirits, it has magical traps. It's even been claimed that only a mage that can reach the root would be able to get past it. And he got past it in the blink of an eye. He can use the darkness itself to take humanoid shape and invoke death with his bare hands. This dude pulled up on Galvaroso and put him to sleep for good. Oh my goodness. I mean, the way this Hassan is moving, his master doesn't even know what's going on. I thought I told you to deal with Galvaroso. What you mean? He's already dead. Huh? His master didn't even know what happened. And not just Galvaroso, this Hassan also bodied 35 people that were just associated with him, most of which being through strokes and heart attacks. He has an extremely high awareness, being able to deduce the powers of the servant, the horseman of pestilence. He has been shown to have influence over technology. He has influence over magecraft, being able to interact with Faldeus through mystic monitors. He just can't be stopped. Now, I would love to see him go up against an actual servant, but if we're just basing it off his role in the story, getting through the impenetrable bounded field, taking out 36 people, including a mob boss with mystic eyes, I gotta place him on the higher end. Come on, man. Can I get a drum roll for one of the most slept on no-name assassin? As the story goes, she spent her entire life mastering the phantasms of all the Hassans that came before her. This would be every single Hassan except for 100 Face. But since the elders feared her, since she was unable to create her own, she was never bestowed with the true Hassan title. That being said, she still has her own version of 18 different Zabanias. Some of them are weaker, but some of them are also stated to be even stronger than the original. So while No Name was officially never given the title of Hassan, her entire existence revolves around them. You gotta put her on the list. And surprisingly, her stats aren't that high. Good durability, good MP, and of course, her speed. Do not let this fool you. For starters, we'll go off into her strength. She ended the life of Richard the Lionheart's master in the blink of an eye, and she was fast enough to escape Richard's Excalibur blast at point blank range. She took on the Clan Caladin police force by herself, all of these members possessing pseudo-noble phantasms that was created by caster Alexander Dumas. She used her Icar version of Zibania to fry their magic circuits and reverse their own magical powers against them, some of this including magic beasts. She used her fleeting shadow phantasm that allows her to manipulate her hair and travel around the room like a shadow. It was even compared to having Medusa's snake hairs. By using this, she was able to amputate one of the officer's arms. She has been shown to be extremely fast in several occasions, one of which stating that she was moving at a speed that ignored gravity, almost as if she was splitting her body into clones. In fact, she was introduced by piercing her own master with Cursed Arm Hassan's phantasm the moment she was summoned. This is not what they meant by welcome you with open arms. She used that same arm to perform the phantasm Cyber Fantasy, the same phantasm that belonged to the Hassan from the third Grail War, blowing off half of Omegas's body. The disrespect! She was shown using his phantasm before he did. And then the same day that she was summoned, she rained down on the entire room full of mages with her Icar phantasm, slaying them all and leaving no survivors in it. Looking at her skill, she was able to completely eliminate her presence and surveyed the police station, realizing that they had 6 layers of bounded field before she decided to rush in, and then she plunged straight through it anyway with no help. She has the rare skill of using 2 noble phantasms at once. Her author himself says that if she was the one in Camelot, she would have took on Tristan with no fear at all, despite him having his reputation. We have her durability. In that same interaction that she had with Richard, she was able to dodge an arrow from a noble phantasm he shot out the floor. And even when her cursed arm came in contact with the arrow, she was able to avoid being poisoned due to her having poison resistance from all the training she's done in the past. She managed to survive a direct hit from a magical bullet manifesting the power from the age of the gods. It was even claimed that a heroic spirit shouldn't be able to take a hit from this unscathed. No name hopped back on her feet like nothing happened. She is a walking horror film. She can use her meditative version of Zibania to measure the wind and magical currents, allowing her to locate things that she wouldn't see otherwise. It's not over. She fell from the top of a skyscraper and got back up like nothing happened, ignoring her injuries. This is due to the same phantasm that she used against the bullet that allows her to harden her skin. Her phantasm Jania allows her to summon massive beasts, serpents, and even giants. She used the same hair manipulation phantasm from before and blocked the flames of a building-sized skeleton summoned by her own master. And lastly, she can erect barriers that completely shroud herself from public awareness. So much versatility, her tact, her speed, all these different phantasms. She's got it all. I would say that she had a really good master, but even after she switched her energy source, you can't take away from any of her strengths. She is a monster. If you wanted to put her first, I wouldn't argue with you. Safe to say that she came in saucy. Finally, the face, the embodiment of Hassan Mount Rushmore, the original old man of the mountain, King Hassan. Getting off into his strength, we already know how this went down. Need I say more? Looking at his fight against Gawain, one of the strongest servants there is, one of the strongest knights of the round table. We get a true depiction of King Hassan's caliber when he's fighting. Gawain tells himself that he should have taken King Hassan serious, that his sword is so great that it at least rivals the Lion King, which is ironic because the whole time that he's fighting, it gives off the sense that he's not even trying. King Hassan not trying is on par with the Lion King. I can't do this. Gawain further goes on to say, you know what? Never mind. Actually, I think that he can beat her. He showed up and saved Cursed Arm Hassan by killing the demon Shaitan. He flat out ripped off Alamu's head with his mouth alone. We're taking the old school approach. The Lamus being the powerful children of the second beast, Tiamat, in his mission against Ozzy. He was able to sneak into Ozzy's temple, decapitate him, and disappear before Ozzy even realized what was going on. This says even more considering that Ozzy is not only one of the strongest, but he also admired how tactful Hassan was when he did it. He fended off multiple Lamus at once with one strike that had the ability to fly and attack him from any angle. Bedivere himself mentioned that before Hassan's blade, whether that servant is strong or weak, everybody falls under the same category. Mediocre. Step your game up, young blood. He has the ability to control other Hassan, shown by the fact that he was able to take control of Serenity's mind and make her fight. He can summon flames that will burn you alive with his eyes alone. Despite Tiamat being claimed to be nearly invulnerable, he injected the concept of death into Tiamat by relinquishing his title, cutting off her entire wing. On top of that, he was able to dodge Tiamat's blast in literal seconds before its arrival. His movement is impeccable. At times, it's been shown that it appears like he's teleporting. He can flat out vanish with his A-rank presence concealment. Right after Gawain tried to flex, claiming that he had the second strongest sword skills after the Lion King, King Hassan blocked his phantasm Galatine with his bare coat. Excuse me, sir. That is not how this is supposed to go. And this is despite Gawain being at full power with the sun at his disposal. In fact, in the fight, it said with or without the sun, he was deflecting all of Gawain's attacks with ease. He fought Gawain for an hour straight without showing any signs of fatigue at all. He blocked Gawain's power strike with his back turned. This whole fight is just disrespectful. He was able to slice through Tiamat's being in order to protect himself. Tiamat being a beast that threatens the entire planet's existence, he seemingly displaced an entire kick from Ishtar by making her attack go straight through him. He tanked energy balls from the Lamu, showing no signs of damage. Tanking several Lamu impalements straight to the chest, he dropped an entire sandstorm on top of Gawain while they were fighting. What are we talking about? Now, I will say that I commend Gawain for taking on one of the strongest servants there is back when he was still Grand Assassin, but that doesn't change the fact that you got body. You got worked, young man. I mean, this dude is out here taking on one of the best knights of the round and making it look like mere child's play. Who sent this child to come fight me? Take your ass back in the house. Let me know how you guys would order the Hassans. Who's your favorite Hassan and why? We still got several more to go. The people sleep on the old man no longer.